Ivica Zubac has always been a quality starting center. For the last few years, he's averaged 10 and 10, just like a really solid, dependable starting center for the LA Clippers. But what he's done to start the season needs to be talked about more, because last night, Clippers beat Golden State. He put up 23 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists. It gets better because through 3 games of the new season, he's up to 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists a night. That is absolutely insane. And naturally, when you hear this kind of stuff to start a new season, you're going to be a bit skeptical, a bit pessimistic, like, oh, but can he keep it up over the course of a full season? And there's definitely reasons to be concerned about that. There's definitely reasons to question that when you consider that he's up to 37 minutes a night and over 16 field goal attempts a night, which are both massive career highs. Last year, he was at 26 minutes a game and just 7 field goal attempts. So naturally, it's easy to have a nice 3-game stretch, especially to start the season. But what happens, can you keep up this level of production, of playing time? Can you be this durable, come January, February, March? Like, it's much easier when everything's fresh and everything's, still new. But like, what happens when the season gets into the weeds? Can you keep up that level of production? That's what separates the good players from the great players. It's consistency. And so that's definitely a valid question to ask with Zubac, and it's a question that can't really be answered until we just see it. Like, it's just going to be something that's happened. But I do think that I don't think this is just like a flash in the pan hot start for Zubac, or at least I don't think it necessarily will be. Like, I do think there's also signs that you could point to say, oh, like, this might be the start of something special for Zubac. Not necessarily keeping up this production, but like maybe taking on a greater role, putting up better numbers than the 10 and 10 he's put up, for the last few years. And the reason I say that is because just like, look at the state of the Clippers. Paul George is gone. So as Norman Powell said before the season, that leaves a lot of room for other people to step up and take his production, his minutes, his shots, all that stuff. So Norman Powell could be one of those guys. He did score 37 the other night against Denver, but it could also be Zubac. You also factor in that Kawhi is obviously the main guy for the Clippers, but his health is always going to be a concern. He hasn't even played to start the season, so you don't necessarily know what his availability is going to be like over the course of the season. So that's more minutes, that's more touches to go around for other members of the Clippers like Zubac. And then I think what's also so great in favor of a potential sustained Zubac breakout is that he's not just like doing this himself. Like, he gets to play off of one of the best playmaker pick and roll point guards we've ever seen in James Harden. Like, say what you want about James Harden, clown and playoff stuff, all that stuff, but like, this dude is still an incredible pick and roll playmaker. We saw the chemistry he had with Clint Capella in Houston and how magical and unstoppable that was. And you're seeing that right now with Harden and Zubac. So if you're thinking about Zubac, I'm like, okay, what's the sustainability of this early hot start? Like, okay, there's going to be touches. Ty Lue clearly seems to be investing, in giving him more of those opportunities with more minutes, with more shot attempts. Like, there's going to be that stuff, especially when you consider that Kawhi is going to be up and down, like in and out throughout the entire season. And then the fact that his life is made so much easier by playing off one of the best point guards in the NBA, like, this could be the start of something special for Zubac. And I think it's one of the more fascinating, underrated stories of the new season. And I think it's reason, Clippers fans are obviously, a bit dejected because they lost Paul George and then Kawhi's health, all that stuff. Like, it definitely puts them a notch below what you maybe thought they could. But I do think the 2-man game of Harden and Zubac and all the other quality role players they have, I think could sustain them for long stretches of the regular season, whether Kawhi's in or whether Kawhi's out. I think it's such a, surprising bright spot in what otherwise feels like maybe like a bit dejected in Clippers land. And I think it's so exciting. Like, I'm so excited to watch because I think it's always fascinating. Like, to me, this sort of like represents what, obviously it's super early to be talking about most improved player, but like, this is kind of what most improved player to me is about. It's not about giving the award to an all-star or to, a top pick still, barely into the league. It's about giving it to a guy who, has sort of been in the league, has sort of established himself as one thing, but then randomly takes an unexpected leap. And that's what we're seeing with Zubac through 3 games. I shouldn't get ahead of myself because, again, it's only 3 games. There's a difference between doing this at the start of the season versus in the middle of the season, injuries, fatigue, all that stuff, scouting reports, all that stuff. But like, it's very encouraging, and it's a very surprising, unexpected bright spot for the Clippers and their fans. And I'm excited to see how it progresses throughout the season.